fill in Frank.
Is that a signature look
That's
now?
it.
Is that it?
I demanded that we do that. I said, if I can't do that, I'm getting on the train going home.
It means so much to so many people, Frank.
Now I'm throwing my weight around. Now they really don't like me.
Welcome to PTI. Kornheiser pulled something embarrassing at the holiday bowling party last night. So I'm joined happily by our great friend from The Athletic, Frank Isola.
Respect.
And we begin today with the Tennessee Titans featuring Derrick Henry's historic evening, winning 30-9 last night, and that ends the Titans portion of this discussion. The Jaguars looked like an up-and-comer as recently as the 1st of October, but now it's being reported the Jags are done with Blake Bortles, and it was impossible to not notice several Jaguars, including King Knucklehead Jalen Ramsey, dancing simple-mindedly while being humiliated. Tony fell for Jacksonville's nonsense after they beat the Patriots in September, but at 4-9 and Bortles on the way out, Frank, what's the Jaguars' future now?
Doesn't look great, and I bought in as well. And if you go back to last season, that road win they had at Pittsburgh, so close to making the Super Bowl, and Bortles will be gone. Ian Rappaport is reporting that. But to me, Mike, this is about their defense, and they walk around like they're the 85 Bears. And look at that play last. To me, that was their entire season. Derrick Henry, former Heisman Trophy winner, but, 2 nights before the Heisman's going to be given out, he was doing the Heisman pose all the way down the field.
On their head.
It was embarrassing.
Frank, I am totally with you. I mean, it was like it was something personal.
Yeah.
Like he was literally running for his life and just shoving guys to the ground who ought to be embarrassed. And then as they continue on with the game, they're mugging for a camera.
Amazing.
Once again, the Jaguars play more stupidly than any team in the league, and yet they strut. It's unbelievable. But think about this for a second, Frank. They will have made first-round quarterback selections in 2011 and I think 14, or 15. So they have just wasted this. They're starting all over. Tom Coughlin's on the hook for some of this, the stuff that's happened on his watch more recently the last couple of years. Frank, they ought to be embarrassed, and I don't think they're smart enough to be. I'm talking about the players now.
And you know what? Tom Coughlin, Doug Marrone, they got a lot of credit last year for getting very close to making it to a Super Bowl.
So. Yep.
They got to take a bit of a hit. You mentioned Blake Bortles. Think about this, Mike. He has 75 interceptions since 2014. Aaron Rodgers has 79 in 14 years in the NFL. Blake Bortles got them a win on the road last year in Pittsburgh. Unfortunately, they need to upgrade at that position.
They do.
And the defense, starting with Jalen Ramsey, who's a very good player, but way too much talking, not enough performing, and certainly not enough tackling yesterday.
Get them out. Bortles and Gabbard, bad selections, defense overrated. Get them all out.
No, they're not the 85 Bears. All right, Mike, with Carmelo Anthony's career in limbo, comes word that LeBron James wants to bring his good buddy to the Lakers. The Athletic is reporting that James and his camp, and as you know, Mike, you're nobody in the NBA if you don't have a camp. They believe that Melo can help the young and inexperienced Lakers. Carmelo's still under contract with Houston Rockets and cannot be traded until after December 15th. All right, Michael, do you see Carmelo riding on the banana boat into L.A.? And should your buddy Magic Johnson make this move?
Frank, this is really difficult. This is a dilemma decision for me. I mean, I am not one of those people in the national media who bashes Carmelo.
Neither do I.
I think Carmelo has had a Hall of Fame career for Syracuse, through all of his time where he played for bad teams, through his time on the Olympic teams, and I'd like to see Carmelo go out with a good finish. But I don't know. I mean, to me, what happens here, what happens with Ingram and Hart and Kuzma, if you have a guy who's ball dominant, who needs the ball? I'm not saying he's a hog with the ball, but he does need it. What happens with their development if Carmelo comes in? I don't know that this helps the Lakers even in the short term, Frank.
See, here's the thing that I think is unfair for Carmelo Anthony. He could have gone to Miami, and he was promised a starting job. He went to the Rockets knowing that he was coming off the bench. By the way, a month ago, up in Brooklyn, he scored 28 points. The next night they went to Chicago, he scored 17, and for some reason the Houston Rockets can't use him. If he's willing to go there, and I think he is, to be a backup on the bench, and here's the other thing, Mike, and don't ever discount this, and you know it. LeBron James has been around a long time. Is there anything wrong with LeBron James wanting one of his buddies to pal around with over the course of 82 games? It's a bunch of young guys on the team. If Carmelo understands
if he can have that role that you're talking about,
I think he's willing to take that role, and I think LeBron knows. LeBron is not going to do anything that will jeopardize him trying to get to a championship.
That's the important part of this. The person trying to maybe who has to go into consultation with Magic Johnson isn't some dope.
Yeah.
It's LeBron, who understands, by the way, wants to win. He's not going to do anything knowingly to jeopardize that situation. So that moves me towards saying, okay, if he can come off the bench, because Frank, I don't want to disrupt, and it's taking some time to build what they're building. I don't want to disrupt that.
I think he's willing to come off the bench. And guess what? LeBron James is at a point now in his career. If he wants it, just do it if it's going to make him happy at this stage.
Well, if it's going to make them better. So they could. It's possible. Rudy Gobert was ejected less than 3 minutes into Utah's game with the Rockets in Salt Lake City last night. Yet, Houston could do absolutely nothing about it in a 27-point loss to the Jazz. After being critical of the Zebras earlier this week in Miami, Gobert smacked some stuff off the scorer's table in reaction to a second foul call against him, which crew chief Tom Washington called too demonstrative, and the Eiffel Tower was chased. Frank, who should be more embarrassed over last night, Gobert or the Rockets?
Sacre bleu. It's definitely the Houston Rockets. But here's the thing about Gobert. On Sunday in Miami, final seconds, they call a foul on him. Very questionable call. Dwayne Wade goes to the free throw line. He wins it. He criticized the official. So here you are on a jump ball, gets called. So Courtney Kirkland, been around a long time, a referee. Tom Washington, been around a little bit. If you're Rudy Gobert, you have to be smart enough to know this is a losing battle. Don't get into a war with the referee. So I think for him it's a good lesson. But as for the Houston Rockets, are you kidding me? You get a total of 8 points out of Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, and the Jazz still win the game by 27? Do you know that this week the Rockets have had a game where they had 9 points in a quarter against Minnesota? Last night they have 11. The Houston Rockets, James Harden, Chris Paul, Mike D'Antoni can't score, Mike. How is that?
Well, Frank, I think there are a couple of things going on here, and your reaction to this is sort of my reaction to this as well. First of all, the teams in the West, Frank, they're just beating each other up. There's carnage. I mean, I tell you what, Denver's little win streak right now, that's like that seems like a 20-game win streak in other years because the teams out West are so good, up and down, up and down. Nobody can sort of get traction for much time. But I still think that the loss of Ariza and Luke, I think those losses were enormous, and so they're still trying to recover from that, find themselves, figure out a different identity. But we didn't think it was going to be on offense. I agree with you there. The defense we thought might take a step back, but this is stunning offensively what's plaguing them.
And remember, you know, Trevor Ariza is on Phoenix, and that's the one team in the Western Conference that's no good. Everyone else could technically compete for a playoff spot. There's a chance he could be traded. Maybe he does get traded back to Houston Rockets. Mike, here's the amazing thing. Last year, Houston lost 17 games. They have 13 losses already. Yep. They could get to 17 losses before Christmas. That's
I thought there'd be a little backslide, but this is starting to amount to more of a big backslide.
You know, are they going to make the playoffs, yes or no?
Yes.
They've only played, by the way, 10 home games.
They'll make it.
All right, the Celtics blew out the Knicks on Thursday, 15 days after Boston was embarrassed by the Knicks on its home court. After a slow start, the Celtics have won 4 straight. Kyrie Irving is starting to look like an all-star again. The C's have the deepest roster in the Eastern Conference, even though they are 6 games behind first-place Toronto. All right, Michael. To paraphrase the great late Dennis Green, are the Celtics now who we thought they'd be?
Not yet, but they're getting there, Frank, and that's going to take a little while longer, too. I mean, part of this is, look, I don't understand. It seems that people were, like, expressing surprise that it was going to take Gordon Hayward at least half a season, maybe 2/3 of a season, to get to the point where he looked like the Gordon Hayward of old. Well, that was crazy. And he's getting there, you know, gradually, incrementally, and I think that's critical. They're going to need him to play in full like he used to before they're the Celtics we expected. And also, they shot the ball so poorly in that stretch where I think at one point they were just 10-10 on their record for the season. Those shots are starting to fall, and I think we all knew they would. So the Celtics are going to get there. Are they there yet? No. Could they have another setback or two along the way between now and Christmas? Yes. I don't think this is going to be easy for them, and Toronto is a better team.
Gordon Hayward last week did have 30 points in Minnesota, so maybe he's starting to come around.
He's starting.
You know, here's something that happened to them. Jaylen Brown got hurt. Marcus Smart goes into the starting lineup, and that changed things around a little bit because Marcus Smart, he's a ball mover. He defends. So they've become a different team. Listen to this, Mike. On the season, they averaged 288 passes per game. In the last 4, 323. So they're
you're giving that mostly to Smart. You like his insertion into that group.
And here's the thing. When he starts, coming off the bench, they have Terry Rozier, Gordon Hayward, and Jaylen Brown. Name me a team in the NBA that has that type of quality coming off their bench.
I mean, look, we've always thought that depth, not just depth, to be, shuttling guys in and out for minutes, not just a rotation, but quality depth.
Yeah.
With 3 guys who could be starting for half the teams in the league, if not more. So, again, but I think even that takes time to sort of figure out and get comfortable with. So, the Celtics aren't there yet. They're going to be right there with Toronto at the end of the season, but not now.
But, Mike, here's the thing. You ask every coach in the NBA, when the playoffs start, they want an 8-man, maybe 9-man rotation.
That's right.
Name me a team that's got an 8-man rotation.
Nobody's got a better one.
Yep.
Nobody's got a better one. Greg Sankey, commissioner of the Goliath SEC, pounded on Little Central Florida yesterday. Said UCF ought to look inward and beef up its schedule with ranked 90th in all of Division I. By way of comparison, Alabama's was 44th, Clemson's was 48th, and Notre Dame's was 42nd. Sankey didn't mention, of course, that his SEC powers play the likes of welterweights the Citadel, Austin P, Charleston Southern, Stephen F. Austin. I could go on and on. Frank, you going to side with Sankey that this is all Central Florida's fault?
By the way, little UCF is the biggest school in the country in terms of enrollment and student body. No, I understand it. But here's the thing. Central Florida is not one of the top 4 teams in the country. Would I like them to be? If there were an 8-team playoff, maybe. And their schedule isn't tough enough. Not one of the teams that they beat finished in the top 25 this season.
So whose fault is that scheduling, Frank?
But here's the thing. Over the last 5 years, Mike, they've played Michigan, Stanford, South Carolina, Missouri on the road. They're willing to play those teams because they have something to gain. The other teams have nothing to gain by playing Central Florida, and that's the problem. They're never going to be up there with the big boys. It's not going to happen.
Wait a minute. Let's not say never. I'm going to give you 2 schools who in our lifetimes, our adult lifetimes, made this work. In order. Florida State was Bobby Bowden, who would just browbeat people and say, I'll come and play you. I'll give you 3 games for 1 back in Florida State, which they never even did. They got that. Yeah. And Miami. That's how the U got there. They just fought their way into certain regular season games, and when they got a crack at a big bowl game, they came through, and those 2 teams, Florida State and Miami, had to fight their way up from relative obscurity, UCF-style obscurity. But the SEC teams, among others, Big Ten, all the Power 5, they need to play these people and stop giving us patsies half the year.
But, Mike, you know what happens, too? In college basketball, you can kind of set your schedule over the summer. College football, the schedule is made year in advance.
Yeah.
And if teams don't want to play Central Florida, what are they supposed to do?
Well, it's tough, too, Frank, because schools now like the Big Ten have added yet another conference game, meaning you have to shove off your schedule a non-conference game. And teams like UCF, and Boise at one point. Boise is another one.
State,
They suffer from this. They really do.
And let's give Central Florida a little credit. Last year in the Peach Bowl, they beat Auburn.
They beat them.
This year they'll get LSU.
Let's take a break. We're coming up. What are the chances that the Bears, the Monsters, knock off the Rams Sunday night in frosty Soldier Field?
Yeah, you better pray for snow. And the Greek Freak is on pace to demolish the NBA record for dunks. What's the word for that?
There's a record for dunks? Because I'm not familiar with that record.
I think Wilt knows what it is. Maybe Michael.
Words with you in What's the Word? Let's get the first one from the producer over the loudspeaker.
The Bears have a blank chance of beating the Rams Sunday night.
They have an icy chance, Frank. Right now, I think in Chicago, and you see what's behind me, it looks sunny and nice. It's about 24 degrees. That's a night game. It was moved from afternoon to night, flexed into by NBC. It's going to be, 18, 19 degrees with wind coming out of Canada. So it's going to be cold. And last year on Christmas Eve, the Rams won a game in Tennessee, but they were fumble fingers down there in a fairly cold game. It ain't as icy in Tennessee ever as it's going to be in Soldier Field Sunday night.
Mike, I'm saying that the Bears have a true chance, as in TRU, as in Trubisky, the guy that you were not happy that they drafted. I know
That's old stuff.
I know you're coming around on him. Hey, listen, Chase Daniel, nothing against you, but I think with Trubisky out there, they'll have a chance to win. By the way, the Rams, in the cold weather, let's see how it impacts them. They've scored 30 or more points in 10 of their 12 games. We'll see how Todd Gurley does on the
And you're right about
Trubisky.
Tundra. Trubisky has practiced. Everybody's expecting him to play. They need to. The Bears are in a sort of need-to-win situation. What's next?
Giannis Antetokounmpo breaking the NBA dunk record would be a blank deal.
It's an irrelevant deal, Frank, because there's no dunk record. This is not home runs. This is not something that's been kept since the 19th century. This is junk. This is great. Just watch Antetokounmpo play and admire the way he plays. love the way he plays, but don't tell me that he necessarily has more dunks than everybody in the history of the NBA, because Wilt, they weren't keeping count of dunks then. They weren't even keeping count for Julius Erving and Darnell Hillman. Stop it. It's irrelevant. Just enjoy it. Don't try to define it numerically. That's what makes me angry.
Giannis breaking that record would be a layup, Mike, because it's going to happen. Left-handed, right-handed. Here's my thing, though. At the rim, he's shooting 80%. 3 feet and out, he's shooting 27% and 11% on threes.
Yeah.
So are you concerned about that when you look at him this season, MVP, and taking Milwaukee to win multiple rounds?
They got other people to shoot threes, not if Giannis can continue to get to the 10, as Bill Raftery would
say.
No.
In the painted area, as UB Brown would say.
Yes, in the painted area. What's next?
It's blank that DeMarcus Cousins could start practicing with the Warriors G League team within a week.
Oh, it's titillating. Remember when DeMarcus Cousins, when he signed, he thought, no, people are saying all-star break, forget that. He wanted to be back by Christmas. Well, obviously he's sort of within his time frame, if not ahead of it, his own time frame. Titillating. I mean, the possibilities, Frank, of what they can do. You put DeMarcus Cousins, by the way, in the paint near the cup for the 10, and it's just going to free up more space for Klay Thompson and Steph Curry and all that shooting. My God, it's titillating.
Yeah, I'm going to say that it's scary. Here's a guy who has not played since January 26th. You know, Boogie has never been in a playoff game. He's going to play in one this season. You know, people around the NBA, they love this signing for the Golden State Warriors for this reason. It was cheap. It was only $5 million. And who knows how effective he'll be. Here's the thing, though, Mike. Nobody else has Boogie Cousins.
That's
so even
right.
if he doesn't play for you, he's not playing for anybody else where he could hurt you.
Absolutely right. Nobody else even has much of an inside presence. They're all saying to Antetokounmpo, wait a minute, you're too close to the basket because they all want to have a 6'4" and under league. What's next?
Floyd Mayweather's next fight should be blank.
There's only one answer for this, Frank. There's only one word. Ignored. Floyd Mayweather apparently is going to fight a Japanese kickboxer. I would not turn around in my own man cave to watch it if the television was on and turn to that. It's a waste of time. It's just completely and utterly also irrelevant. It should be ignored.
His next fight should be for free. By the way, this is only going to be 3 rounds, and the kickboxer isn't even allowed to kick. By the way, the Japanese kickboxer said through an interpreter, how about this, Mike? I'm going to use all my weapons against him.
What weapon?
Floyd, watch yourself. He's got this. He's going to hit Floyd. Maybe he'll headbutt him, but no kicking. You're not allowed to do that.
It sounds like a 70s exploitation movie. What were those things called? Chucker sticks? What were those things?
Remember Muhammad Ali, Antonio Inoki. They once got to a fight. And he kicked him in the shin for 12 rounds.
Ignored too.
Yeah.
Eat your words, Frank. Let's take one last break, but still to come. The owner of the Nationals makes it sound like Bryce Harper is gone. Gone.
And we're about 26 hours from the Heisman Trophy ceremony. Our final predictions when we come back.
I don't know they're going to differ that much from our initial prediction or our secondary.
It's going to be a quarterback, I guarantee it.
Yeah, I think. Time to get happy, people. Happy 28th birthday, Yasiel Puig. The Dodgers right fielder could be in for another few days or weeks of uncertainty. Industry chatter is that the Dodgers will finally trade their talented, charismatic, and absolutely high-maintenance star in order to free up money to pursue a bigger star, perhaps Bryce Harper. Puig hit .267 with 23 homers, which is pretty much his average over 16.
But he is batting .280 in 58 career playoff games. Remember, Game 7 against Milwaukee, had a home run, 3 RBIs, went 3 for 4, and he plays a good right field, Mike. Be kind.
Get rid of him if they can get Bryce Harper, trust me. Happy anniversary, Vincent Bo Jackson. On this day 33 years ago, the Auburn running back barely beat out Iowa's Chuck Long to win the Heisman Trophy in the second closest vote in history. After 8 MLB seasons and only 4 NFL seasons, Jackson was done. That hip injury in the playoffs against the Bengals wound up taking him out. And in case you're wondering about Long, he played 6 NFL seasons. You can catch him now on the Big Ten Network.
How great of an athlete was Bo Jackson?
In my
money, the greatest ever. By the way,
Dick Schaap always said he was the greatest athlete of all time.
The closest Heisman Trophy race, Mark Ingram, Toby Gerhart in 2009.
Happy trails to a save for Christopher Gibson. The Islanders' backup goalie thought he had the near post covered on Sidney Crosby last night, but the Penguins superstar went top shelf from an impossible angle for his 15th goal of the season in the Penguins' 6-2 romp. Crosby's currently 17th in the NHL in scoring, hasn't finished outside the top 10 in 7 years, Frank.
By the way, Phil Kessel, 2 goals in that game. That's 342 for his career, 10th all-time for American-born hockey players.
We're running out of show. Let's get to the big finish quick. Nats owner Mark Lerner said on DC Radio today the team's offer to Bryce Harper was the best they can do. Your thoughts?
Is it still on the table? I think it's a very fair offer, right? Hugh Freeze is reportedly the new head coach at Liberty University. Good hire.
Freeze colored outside the lines a lot of Ole Miss. I'm not sure. The Bills are offering fans $12 an hour, 2 meals, and a ticket to Sunday's game if they help shovel out Rich Stadium. Is that a good deal, Frank?
You get me chicken wings from the Anchor Bar, I'll do it. Army-Navy game tomorrow. 3 in a row for Army, Mike. What do you think?
Army's run 2 in a row, and Army is now the better team, Frank. I think Army's going to go 3 in a row. Last one, Heisman Trophy ceremony tomorrow. Who's winning?
Best player, the best team, Tua. All right, we're out of time. Thanks for watching. I'm Frank Isola.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Have a great weekend, knucklehead. See you Monday.